Hello, and welcome to the Pest Control Marketing Podcast with your host, me, Hal Coleman, uncensored and unplugged. Pay attention, take lots of notes, because you're going to find out exactly how to get more new customers, more referrals, and grow your business.
Hal Coleman has been active in the pest control industry for over 40 years, including owning and operating his own successful pest control business for 18 years. He now devotes his time to helping other PCOs and other WCOs double, triple, and even quadruple their businesses faster than they ever imagined. Be sure to check out his website, pestcontrolmarketer.com. For more information about Hal's coaching program, you can reach him at 770-993-0004 or email him hal@halcoleman.com. Mike Stewart is known as the Internet audio and video guy. Since the birth of the Internet, Mike has been showing small business owners how to get more new customers, increase their sales, and grow their businesses online using audio and video, now with iPhones and Android phones. For more information about Mike's coaching program and his online training courses, visit MikeStewartCoaching.com or email him mike@internetaudioguide.com.
Well, hello, folks. This is Hal Coleman, and welcome to yet another episode of the Pest Control Marketing Podcast, here with my good friend, mentor, and business partner, the one and only Mike Stewart. Are you with me, Mike?
I am with you, and I love doing these podcasts, but you know what? I like today even more. You know why?
Why?
Because we have a guest who may actually be smarter than me, and I might learn something.
Well, any guest we could choose would be, well, never mind.
Thanks.
Yes,
with friends like you.
We do have a guest, and not only is our guest quite a well-known figure in the pest control industry, but he's also been a friend of mine for I don't know how long, probably 25 years at least. Jeff Annis from Advanced Services in Augusta, Georgia. Are you with us, Jeff?
I am right here, Hal and Mike. Good to hear from y'all.
Awesome.
Good, man. How are you doing, Jeff, during the COVID-19 shut-in? Are you being shut in, or are you going out there sailing and playing tennis every day?
I never changed anything that I was doing the whole time. So there you go.
Well, there you go. There you go. I wish more of us had been like that. You know, we're learning slowly. So. But I'm glad to have you on here today, Jeff. And you know, before we kind of get into things, I want to establish, you know, your social credibility here. It doesn't need to be established with me, but for folks who are listening and don't know who you are, tell us a little bit about how your history in the business and what you've done up to now.
Well, Hal, when I was a senior in high school, my dad, who was at that point about 20 years in his own small pest control business, dropped dead. In November that year, I graduated from high school the following spring. And then about a year and a half after that, I started going part-time to college to help my mother run their pest control company called Annis Pest Control right here in Augusta. They had about 4 pest routes, termite treater guy, inspector guy, a couple of folks in the office plus her. And back in 1984 revenue, y'all, that was about a $300,000 operation. These days, of course, it'd be a lot more, but that was 1984 money. I started helping her out in 1977. So I worked my way up through there from soup to nuts, didn't know anything. Finally got certified in 1981. And then, believe it or not, by 1985, I was president of Georgia Pest Control Association at age 29, because I knew then, do it while you're young. Don't wait till you're 90 years old, like when Hal Coleman did it.
Yeah. Don't wait until you get older. You'll be wiser and you won't want to do it.
Oh, yeah. They should always get people 29 years old to be president, because that way you're excited. We changed the dues structure. We did a bunch of stuff that made people angry that year. It was great. And then, but my mom got not prostate cancer. My mom's a woman. Mom got colon cancer in 1983, and she decided to get out of the business. And so she sold the business to some guys. And I worked with them from 1984, 1985. But in January 1985, I left them, and we started a brand new company in Augusta with 70 competitors who weren't really doing anything that wrong, Hal. But I said, well, we don't know how to do anything. And we also knew no one would hire me anyway. So I said, let's start a pest control company. That's the best move. Everybody said, that's stupid. I said, well, if everyone says it's stupid, it must be right.
A man after my own heart.
Yeah. So proceeded to do that. We started in the fall of 1986. It took us 10 years, 1996, to get up to where we did $1 million in revenue. But now that was the first 10 years was not exactly what I call my blessed period, because that's so hard to do, going from 0 to $1 million, because we were doing it the hard way. We were doing it mainly with residential stuff and mainly with recurring revenue. So it was harder than most people would have to do now. And also that's 1996 money we're talking about. So that's not as much as $1 million, or it's a lot less than $1 million feels like today. But my thing about it is how, well, now we're about a $500,000 a month pest control company. And while I still own it all, I retired about 10 years ago, but it was only about 4 years ago that somebody noticed. Now that tells you exactly how much I was really doing.
So they just been paying you to stay away from there.
Well, they weren't sure what I was doing. All they knew was that it must have worked, because they all still, 50 people had jobs. So, and we had good paying benefits, so it was fine. But I officially retired 4 years ago and put in the guys that, ladies and gentlemen, that kind of run the company now as a leader team. And you've met them all, Bowen,
yeah.
Dina, and Hyro, and Shelby, and Dina, and Christy, and all those folks. I still own 100% of Advance. I partially own that small company in South Georgia, Green Frog. But one thing that I wanted to make sure everyone understood was that I literally come from doing pre-treats out in the field when it was 30 degrees or when it was 130 degrees. I come from getting in attics. I come from going to see Miss Johnson when she was mad about the termite repair. I've done everything that you ever can imagine, because I started doing it from a very young age, a long time ago. And I am, at my core, I'm not a businessman. At my core, I'm a bug man. And I had to actually learn through lots of difficulties how to be a businessman while at the same time being a pest control expert too.
Yeah. And that's what I really want to kind of talk about today. Now, you mentioned something earlier. You said it was 4 years after I retired before anybody knew I was gone. And that's the key there, is that your company being able to essentially move right on ahead and grow and be profitable without you with your finger on everything. And, we have so many people out there who they're hanging on to their business like a wolf by the throat. You don't like it, but you don't dare let go of it. And I remember many, many times in the past when I had my pest control business, I'd run into a competitor and small company, and I would say, are you going to the pest control conference next month? And it's I'm not go. I can't go to a pest control conference for 3 or 4 days, man. I got a company to run here. I can't turn loose and do anything like that. And I just kept hearing that over and over. You want to go hunting for a few days? Man, I can't take off and go hunting for 3 days. It's like their company would be totally gone when they got back, Right. So you're the master, and I've admired you and watched you and been in awe of you for many years on how you have been able to build a successful team, and teams within a team, and teams within those teams, and being able to get exactly the right people for the right job, and get them trained and hold them accountable and show them what to do. And talk a little bit about, we're talking about the company with maybe less than 5 people, maybe 2 people, maybe a one-man operator, but that has a vision of growing their business. They have a vision of someday being a Jeff Annis and having a $6 million business that they don't have to be there every day. Can you kind of talk to them?
Yeah, I can, Hal. And you know what? I tell you, there's a sentence. I'm gonna give you my sentence. It's not the leader. In other words, it's not you who makes the organization successful. It's the organization, that is how, it's the team, whether it's 1, 2, 3, or 4, it doesn't matter, or 50. It's the team that makes the leader successful. And so if you don't build that team, if you don't build those people that are on your team, the first, second, third, fourth person you ever hired, if you're not building them with the care and attention that you would if you were cutting a giant diamond, then you are going to be nothing but the hardest working guy making the least money possible for as long as you can imagine. It is all about the team. But you, as the leader, you have to be really, really, really responsible for weaving that vision, inspiring those people to do this hard work and build what I call the competent organization that does things successfully and consistently, day in, day out, according to the design that you as the leader, Hal, you've woven this wonderful company out of the work of these people. But you have to sell that wonderful vision and that purpose of what you're doing and why. And good people will latch on to you.
Well, how do you do that? I mean, how do you get good people? We pest control guys, we're blue collar guys, and almost all pest control companies are owned by somebody who started out like you and I did, drilling holes in concrete foundations and trenching and treating houses for termites and pest control. So we're hard workers. We're committed to what we do. We're honest. We believe in giving people more than what they pay for. We take care of the customers, but we're not necessarily natural business people. So when I get ready to say, well, I need help, I'm working 11 hours a day, 6 days a week. I can't do anymore, and I got to have some help. Where do I go? What do I do at that point?
Well, normally when I start digging into that with people, and whether they got 1 people or 10 or 20, it's always the same thing. The first thing they say is a big list of stories about how they're people that they picked. There's 7.4 billion people on the planet, and they picked the one lousy person that they could to put in that pest route and have them go out and mess up their business. They picked the wrong people, Hal. Y'all, if you're listening to this, I'm going to tell you right now, every single company out there, whether it's 1 person or 10 or 100, there's 1 or 2 people in that group that are holding the whole team back, but the owner leader won't get rid of them because someone's got to do the route. I've heard that, Hal. I've heard that 1,000 times. You probably
heard it from me because I've been there and done that more than I care to admit in the past when I owned my company.
Well, that is the serious illness you can have because they hurt everything about your team, and it holds the whole company back. And whenever they finally do get up the courage or whatever it is, or the person finally steps on the last landmine, that business owner always says, I should have done that a year ago. I should have done that 6 months ago. I should have done it. I've had them, Hal. I should have done that 5 years ago. I had someone just tell me 3 months ago, so-and-so, they've been with us a long time, but, I've caught him stealing 3 times and I just can't let him go. I said, well, wait a minute. He's stealing. What do you mean? Oh, yeah, well, he fills his wife's car up with gas. Sometimes I have to scold him because he didn't turn in the $60 Miss Johnson gave him. I said, wait a minute. What? Yeah, but I can't let him go because, a lot of the customers really like him, and they'll call and say how good he is. And I'm worried if I got rid of him, I don't know what would happen. Well, what would happen is you might have an actual company instead of this patchwork of bad people running around in your logo truck. People, yep. That's real. That's a real true to life story from 2020. And then you wonder why. You wonder why you don't have a company. It's a problem.
I'm sure it is, and it's a. I told somebody one time, I said, having a bad employee is exactly like having a bad tooth. You know, it hurts, but you just keep enduring the pain because you're just afraid to have it pulled because you're afraid it'll hurt worse.
It'll cost you money. It costs $200 to get it pulled. If you wait till it abscesses, Hal, it's going to be $3,000.
And it's like the person who is in a bad marriage and stays in it for years simply because, you know what we do, Jeff? We get comfortable being uncomfortable. And
that's right.
At least I'm in a bad marriage, but at least I know what to expect, and I know what I can say and what I can't, what I can do and what I can't. And if I file for divorce, that's going to be a painful, miserable thing to go through. Right. And I got to start all over again. So it's just kind of the same thing.
I know. And it's the same thing with this, Hal. We really have, that's the reason it's so hard to go 1, 2, 3, 4 routes, because Hal, when you've got 2 pest control routes and it's you and maybe your wife's answering the phones a little bit, and now it's going to cell phones, so it's a lot easier now. When you're trying to build up through that period of time, the very first person that you hire and the second and third, they have to immediately make you cash flow. They got to immediately make it for you, because if they're not making you cash flow, you can't afford to grow one more account, because you're down. You can't go up from 2 employees to 3 employees and you still get paid. So they've got to be very, very good, and they've got to be very, very profitable in our industry. So you can go from 1 to 2 to 3 to 4 to whatever, 40 routes. Everybody has to do it. And you know how it's the same. It's the same if you have 35 routed guys out there running full speed all day, having a great life. You still can't have one of them mess up, or you'll be a headline in the evening news. They did something. And so you have to build this great, competent, loyal team. But the same people that are complaining about their bad employee, if you start digging down layer after layer, there's something wrong with that leader. I'm going to call them leaders, owners, whatever you want to call them. There's something wrong with them. And nobody, one reason that they're like me, the reason they started their own company is because nobody would hire them. And so they thought that they had gotten out of being managed by others or being judged by others by starting their own pest control company. And believe me when I tell you, on Sunday morning, if I go up to the Publix down the street down here, did you know that on Sunday morning at 10 o'clock, if you saw me in that Publix, did you know that I'm dressed about right? I polo shirt and some shorts. I shave. I make sure my hair looks good, because I might run into a customer. I don't run red lights or get caught driving down the road with an open bottle of tequila. First of all, it's probably not a good idea. Second of all, I don't want to embarrass my team. I don't want people to hear that I did something bad. The first thing you have to do as a leader and to be successful in business is you need to be somebody that they want to be. I want them to want to be me. I want them to, I think, and they all know I have an airplane. I have a nice airplane. I have a nice house, a nice wife, a nice car. I'm a good tennis player. I go fishing when I want. I want everyone there to be me. If you don't want everybody in your team to be you, you need to look at yourself. And let me tell you how they all could tell you chapter and verse what I've been through to get to here. And they all know that story. I haven't had to tell it to them. Yeah. But you need to be someone that they want to work with, not work for. If they start working for you, you're done.
So how do I, if I'm the little guy and I need somebody, how do I find them? How do I find some? Do I just put an ad up that says hiring? How do I get from here, from not having anybody in mind and needing somebody to having this really good person working for me full time? Is there some steps in there that I need to go through?
Well, one thing I would do is I would contact Hal Coleman and Mike Stewart, and I would say, listen, boys, it all starts with my video on my Facebook. It all starts with the front page of my website. It all starts with how people are perceiving me in the marketplace. If you go to my Facebook and the owner's making a little speech on there, or you look at the Facebook for that company, you're going to know, hey, is that a place I want to work? Now, if I go look at your pest control Facebook and website, I can tell you, just like you can and Mike Stewart can, you can look at that thing in for 10 seconds and say, that company's got it on the ball. They know what they're doing. They know what they're doing. I can tell, look at this, and this. And you can tell. Now you go to the other guy and you go, well, they don't even have a Facebook. You go look at the trucks going down the road. Is that truck got a nice wrap? Has it got a good, it's got a good symbolism on the vehicle? When you meet the guy, Hal, that we sell pest control every day at the gas station. They meet my guy at the gas pump. I actually recruited a really good tech the other day. I don't even work there. And I saw this really nice looking guy from another company. And he looked like he is all on the ball, all shaven, looked like $1 million. And I gave him an advanced services. It had our logo on it. It was hand sanitizer. And I said, I bet you could use this. I handed it to him. He looked at it and said, advanced. He said, yeah, I can use this, but they better not see it in the office. I said, well, stick it in your pocket. I said, call them up sometime if you want to look for a job. It's bugstopperjobs.com. And, I tell you what, I can't say enough about the things that y'all do for these guys, Hal, you and Mike. I'm not going to tell you his name. I got a guy that I've been working with for about 4 or 5 years. And between me and you, he's already over $1 million. And he says, well, I've been working with Hal Coleman and Mike Stewart. And that 1 year, he sold more stuff in December than he'd sold the previous 4 months. How do you sell more stuff in December than you've sold the previous 4 months? Because Hal Coleman and Mike Stewart changed his daggum website a little bit.
Well, that's it's not a mystery. It's not magic. It's just that there are things that some people need to be doing that they're not doing, and to market your company well takes work. Just like finding the right employee takes work, and training the right employee takes work. So it's easy to just put an ad out there that says help wanted, and somebody comes in and they got 2 arms and 2 legs and they can see, and they come walking in and they got a little bit of experience, or maybe they don't, but they're available. And what we see sometimes is relief. This is relief for me. This is, I've been in this game for the 3 quarters and I haven't been out for a play, and now they're putting somebody in relief and I can go sit on the bench and rest a little bit. That's what people see. And that's just not the right thing to do, is it?
And now here's a word from our sponsor.
Google Pest Control Marketing. Grow your business like never before. Call 770-993-0004.
Did you hear that? That is a jingle. But more than that, it is an audio logo and what I call a marketing earworm. But that's a bug, that's a worm you want in your local market on YouTube, Facebook, Spotify, and podcasts like you're listening to right now. Yes, you should do a podcast as a PCO, but we'll talk about that another time. You want your market singing Google your name, what you do, and your phone number. Simple, but it works. If you want to cash in on this marketing bonanza, go to pestcontrolmarketingjingles.com to learn more. Or just call me, Mike Stewart, at 770-826-3662, or call Hal Coleman at 770-993-0004. And we would love to show you how to do what we call search and call advertising with earworms. And oh yeah, it works on that old-timey technology of radio and television. Why don't you call us today and learn more?
Google Pest Control Marketing. Grow your business like never before. Call 770-993-0004.
I've been in this game for the 3 quarters and I haven't been out for a play, and now they're putting somebody in relief and I can go sit on the bench and rest a little bit. That's what people see, and that's just not the right thing to do, is it?
No, it's not. And you really, I diligently now still keep up with things, as a kind of there's an ownership role. But the problem with being a 1, 2, 3, 4 person guy, you have to do the ownership role. You have to be the number one thinker. and the number one vision spinner. You got to make sure everybody understands the what, why, how we're doing that work and the way we're doing it. You've got to understand that they have to simply be able to know what your core business is. What are you trying to do? You've got to make sure they understand the core business. I've found $5 million a year companies, even bigger than that, where the rank and file people in the business did not know how they make money, didn't know who they were out to get as new customers, didn't know why they were making the money, who would get the money if they did make it, why it was great to work there or not. They're big companies. But then I've run some companies like the one we're talking about that you and I and Mike work with a little bit in South Carolina. His folks all understand what they're doing and why. They understand the kind of services they want to do. They know we want to do their pest and mosquito, and we want to do their termite all at the same house. They understand that's the way we grow our business profitably. And we train our folks. You know, we're a profit sharing workplace, and we train our folks. Here's how we make the money. Here's how we lose the money. This makes it work. Well, this breaks it. And we tell them, and we explain it to them that they know all our numbers and how we do things. And they understand why we do what we do. And if anybody has a question, they can call one of those leaders. In fact, they all have my cell phone number too. Sometimes I get a phone call, say, hey, I want to know about that. And we're transparent. We tell everybody everything. And when you're small, that's how we grew it. Hal, with great people, because those people that Hal, some of those people have been there 26, 27 years and been there since the first time we hit the first million. Some of those people are still there. It's a lot easier if you keep great people for 25 and 30 years. It's a lot easier if it's the same great people.
Yeah. And so tell us a little bit about your recruitment process. I know you don't just, if somebody walks in and fills out an application, you don't just say, well, okay, this looks good. Can you start Monday morning? Come in and be ready to go to work on the payroll. You don't do that, do you?
No, it's a lot harder than that, but it's also easier. The main place we get our people from is from our great people. Our great people bring in that guy they know who just got, bumped around. Here's how we tell people this. We say, if you know an A+ person that's working in a C+ or D- workplace, we want to hire that A+ person from that C and D and F workplace. So when I don't even want to know about pest control. I just need to know if they're that really, really, really reliable person that loves to do things in fact, in most jobs, y'all, we need folks that love to do repeated things over and over and over the same way. So we need someone who's got a good, disciplined way of following instructions and sticking with it. And we need people that just absolutely love making other people happy. So they got to make them happy. I tell
people always hire for personality, because you can train anybody to kill a cockroach. And so, but you can't train somebody to have a good personality. And like with my clients, I'm working with them, and they're going to hire somebody when they need. I do a phone interview with that person before they hire them, but I don't want a picture. I don't want to know what they look like or anything. I want to do the interview not knowing what they look like, because when somebody calls them, or a customer, they call a new customer, they're not going to know what they look like either. So I just interview them and have a conversation with them to make sure they have good communication skills, to make sure that they're open and answer questions and use good grammar and et cetera. So and I don't know anything about their background. I just want to have a conversation with them, see what kind of personality they have.
Well, one good thing you can do from the upfront is engage with them. Nowadays, you want to be doing some texting with them. See how well they text you, how fast they text you back. 3 or 4 times you're talking to them on the phone. You might even go ahead and do a Zoom interview, invite them to a Zoom meeting. So they're on their phone or on their iPad or on their computer. They boot up a Zoom meeting, have the Zoom meeting with them, ask them a bunch of questions. But how you got to ask them you got to find out if they're good people. You've got to say, I get a question I really like. And I'm not a lawyer, so ask your lawyer first. But I always ask them, tell me about a time at work where you really messed something up. What happened? Now, if they don't have a story about how they messed something up or how they made a mistake or how something went wrong that was their fault, then they haven't been to work.
Mm-hmm.
So we find out pretty fast are they transparent enough to be on our team? Because I need you to be able to tell me about the time that something went wrong. Maybe you underproduced. And I know they remember these things, Hal, because I got a bunch of friends who are great athletes, and I tell you what, the most vivid memories in their mind was, it was 3rd and 3, and the coach told me to run the ball, and I threw a pass. It got intercepted. The other team ran it back for the touchdown, and we lost the game. They remember that. They remember this stuff, Hal. So they know when they messed up, and then you interview them about things like that and find out more and more about how transparent they are. And you also find out about what they did in their past that they're most proud of. If they're most proud of, if they start mentioning great things of what their team accomplished, oh yeah, we hit our sales goal 9 months out of 12. We had the biggest revenue year ever. Our profits were through the roof. We did all this, that, and the other. My wife got that new job over here, so I had to move from Brazil to America, or from California to Georgia. You find out why they moved, how they moved, what their wife does. You find all kinds of good stuff about them. But if they go around just saying, well, I did great, but my boss was terrible, and so he was a jerk and he fired me. Well, I need to know if that's how their view of the world is, because that's not really probably the guy that, and it's probably not the story I want to hear. Even if it's true, that's not the story you should tell. I need to find somebody who takes a lot of pride in the success of the team they're on, because at our company, we're only good as the guy next to us. And so we want to build a great team. I don't need a bunch of, no football team would be very good if they had 11 Tom Brady's lined up to play the Super Bowl. Do you know how many Super Bowls Tom Brady would have won?
None.
You need some big guys up in the front. We don't need 11 Tom Brady's out on that field. Now, he's a great athlete and he's a good-looking guy, right? But he ain't. It takes a team. So we don't hire on the all-star program. We hire great team players that love to keep people happy, make people happy. We love honest people that have a real diligent work approach. Hal, I've got people, I couldn't tell you, almost nobody takes a sick day. It's just unheard of if someone's out sick. Unheard of. We have to force them by our ways we do things. We have to make them take their paid vacation.
Yeah.
Because they enjoy their work. They don't want to be gone.
What do you do about that employee that, they're out sick every now and then you're kind of a little skeptical of what's going on. They turn in their work every day. They do okay. They really don't get any customer complaints hardly ever. But they don't look that bad. They don't look that good. They can always kind of, they'll do stuff, but they give you that look, and that like they're not good enough to promote and then not seem to not be bad enough to fire. You just don't enjoy them being there, and maybe that borderline person. How do you handle that?
Well, I've done a story about that, Hal. Here's what it is. You've got employees, you rate them all on a 1 to 10 scale. 1 to 10. 8s and 9s and 10s is what you're going to build your entire future on, the 8s, 9s, and 10s. And you've got to be able to clearly describe to me what makes someone an 8, 9, and 10. And you'll talk about reliability and profitability and consistency and all of that. They're always trying to learn more, do more, be better. They're always smiling. And I love when they walk in the door, the 8s, 9s, and 10s. I love when they walk in the door. Well, my theory is, and I'll challenge everybody on this one now, it is this. If you don't have all 8s, 9s, and 10s, if you've got a bunch of those, really the worst ones are the 6, 7s, the 5, 6, 7s, because they're not good enough to keep and they're not bad enough to fire. If you've got a bunch of 5, 6, and 7s on the team, you're a dead man. And you need to, but you've got to tell me now, Hal. You've got to say, tell me what makes him a 7. Well, these 3 things. So if he didn't do those 3 things the way you're talking about, he'd be an 8. Okay, yeah. All right. Let's talk about the way that I talk to that person. How can I talk to that person so that they know what makes them a 7 or a 6 and what they need to do to become an 8? How do I have that conversation? And believe it or not, y'all, the way you have that conversation is you have to ask them a question about it. Let's say they miss one. They tragically don't show up for work because of a sudden illness every 5 weeks. You call Hal Coleman and say, Hal, you do a great job. I tell you, do you know the one thing that really kind of is a stick in my craw about your performance around here, Hal? And you look at me and you go, well, I don't know what it could be. Well, what's the one thing that you think you've noticed that we really don't, it really is a problem for us around here with the way you do your job? I can't imagine what it is. Well, normally they're going to say, well, I guess, I have migraines, and every 4, 5, 6 weeks I'll have a bad migraine. And usually it is on a Monday. Is that it? Is that it, Jeff? Is that I miss a day every 4, 5, 6 weeks? Is that a big problem here? So, well, do you know what happens when you call in at 7:30 in the morning when you've got 8 o'clock stops scheduled on the schedule? Well, I guess you have to find something else to do them. Well, frankly, let me tell you something, Hal. I have to jump up. I was supposed to go to the Lions Club at noon. I was supposed to go see Mr. Johnson at 4. I had to reroute my whole day because I had to jump in and do your job that day. And it really messes us up. And then the guy Hal, you scratch your head and you say, I'm going to go to my doctor and I'm going to work with him on finding a better thing to keep my migraines from happening. Now, I don't know if he even really had migraines. It's not by y'all. Y'all don't talk to them about their migraines. It's none of your business. He needs to understand that no matter what causes the problem, he can't just pop up and miss one day of routed work every 5 to 6 weeks. Cannot do that. You cannot do that and be our company.
Yeah.
So I can't go and just tell the guy, you got to quit missing work. That's crazy. Get out of here. If you do it one more time, I'm going to fire you. If you're going to say that to somebody, just fire them and go find somebody. But if you can nurture them by asking them questions and bringing them on board with the way they're supposed to behave as compared to the way they've been behaving, then they'll catch on. If they're the right person for your team, they'll catch on. And it doesn't matter what it is. They have every third day is very low production. Every now and then they do the paperwork wrong. You just have to ask them questions and make them admit to it, that's what's going wrong, and then work with them specifically on fixing that deficiency. But pest control guys are pest control guys. We're not great human resources people. We don't think we have the time to have a 15 or 20 minute conversation to nurture this person back into that line to where he's going to be he's going to go from a 6 to a 7 and then from a 7 to an 8. Because we only allow 8, 9s, and 10s at the company. And I want to tell you this about it, Hal. If I had 5, 6s, and 7s, our profit level would be in the 3, 4, 5% a year profit level. And I'm going to tell you that the new zero in owning a pest control company, 10% net pre-tax profit is the new zero. So at the end of the year, if you didn't make 10% of all the revenue, it literally showing as an operational profit, then you're in serious trouble. Serious trouble. Because you can blink your eyes and have a 10% change in your performance.
Yeah.
You can't be down there.
Well, so Jeff, this is we're going to kind of have to wrap it up here, but this has been awesome. Now you do some coaching for people on how to build teams, don't you? I mean, some consulting. If somebody was listening to this podcast and they said, I'd like to talk to Jeff about helping me put my team together, how would they get in touch with you?
Well, they could just send me an email, bugman@bugstopper.com, bugman@bugstopper.com. And what I normally do is if anyone listening to this that y'all know from your podcast and you and Mike, if they say, hey, I heard you on the podcast, this is my problem, and he sent it to me, I will send you back. Now I'm going to do just what I did the other guy about being late or not showing up. I'll send you back some questions, and I'll make you think about it. And then you send me back those answers. And again, you'll have thought about it. And then from that, I'll call you and we'll have a 15-minute conversation. I'm just like Hal and Mike, 75% or 85% of what we do is just free to help everybody. And if there's some resource I have that you end up spending some money, which would be very rare, if there's a course I'm teaching or a class, and maybe Hal and I will put something together for another one-day class sometime for y'all. We'll have something we can sell you and do with you. But most of what I'm going to do for you is free. And unfortunately, that's about what it's worth. But I'll ask you to answer some questions. It'll get you thinking. And I'm good for these 10 to 15-minute conversations on the phone. So shoot me your questions about bugman@bugstopper.com, and I'll help you very efficiently help you.
And Mike and I do the same thing. Folks, if you'd like to have a conversation with me and identify some low-hanging fruit in your business, won't cost you a penny, and you can reach me at 770-993-0004. If you'd like to talk with Mike about your online marketing or a jingle or so many other things he does involved with SEO, videos, Mike Stewart, 770-826-3662. And with that, Jeff, this has been great, and I appreciate you joining us here today, my friend. Any last thing you want to say to people?
Yeah, I got to tell them all this, and how you met my mother when you were back working for the state like 40 years ago.
I think that was in 1975.
Yeah, that was when I was still in high school, so bless my heart. Hal Coleman, and I've known Mike a few years too, goes back. Y'all don't ever do anything bad. Y'all don't do anything wrong. Y'all don't do anything greedy. And whenever Hal Coleman, when you've told me that I needed to do something with the way I did my business and I did it, I won. And everything you've ever taught us to do, taught me to do, taught my techs to do, that we've done it, we've won. And I believe in you, and I believe in Mike Stewart. And I think y'all are probably worth about 5 times whatever it is y'all are undercharging these people. That's another story, but y'all are a great bargain and a great resource. And I've seen what y'all put into your clients because I've talked to them. Y'all are miracle workers, but the client has to do the work.
Yeah, amen. They do. We, I kind of got the old philosophy, you give a man a fish, you feed him for a day, you teach him to fish, and you feed him for the rest of his life. Well, I had a third one on to it. If he refuses to fish, throw his ass out of the boat and feed him to the fish and give his fishing pole to somebody else that really does want to fish.
Exactly. That's true. Well, thank you, Hal. Thank you, Mike Stewart. Thank you for having me on today.
Thank you, Jeff. And folks, thank you for listening to this episode of the Pest Control Marketing Podcast.
Thanks for listening to the Pest Control Marketing Podcast. Be sure to subscribe to our podcast in iTunes and on your phones and in Stitcher on your Android. But more importantly, go to our website, pestcontrolmarketingpodcast.com. Subscribe to our email list to always be notified of new episodes. You're never going to want to miss what we got coming up next, and you never know what we're going to be able to do to help you with your pest control marketing.